Hey YouTube, Joeboy here. So, One Piece chapter 978 is out. So if you haven't checked out that chapter yet, I suggest that you do so because I will be spoiling you. But now that you have, let's begin. Do you guys feel that before the chaos tension? You know, in my opinion, guys, this is some classic One Piece. Yeah, this is just a setup chapter, but it's just so masterful because I cannot wait for the next chapter. And that's like the entire point. I'm over here peeking at every corner of the page trying to find the trap. And I'll be honest, about halfway through the chapter, I got nervous. You know, we all expect, right? Orochi and Kaido know they're coming, surely. You know, so where are they hiding or what are they plotting? Where are they? Why aren't the allies being attacked? You're almost like ready for that jump scare. But I guess more than anything, I was just so unprepared for this chapter because, you know, it's like, okay, I don't feel like we're going to jump right into the battle. That wasn't my feeling beforehand. But yet all of a sudden here we are, and it's like, oh, they're going into Onigashima. Oh, they're at the entrance. Like, is the battle going to start? And I was so unprepared for that. And then all of a sudden it's like, wait, they're not here. This is one of those things that like gives you trust issues. Kind of feel jerked around. So guys, I think the big point of discussion after this chapter, I mean, there's really two, I think. But this one, the first one that I want to talk about, does Orochi actually know that they are here? Right, we assume as much, like we assume this is to be the case because they changed the plan based on this and Kandras betrayed them, and we're assuming here that Kandras would have informed Orochi. But, you know, I gotta say here, in this case, it feels like I was onto something because 2 chapters ago we speculated that Kandras might not inform Orochi, and it seems reasonable after this chapter. As we learned, I think last chapter or the chapter before, the other people that the Strats encountered, they were unable to send a message to Orochi because for whatever reason the communication systems were down, or they weren't taking calls because they were busy partying or something to that effect. So essentially the only way that Orochi would know is if Kandras told him. So it all depends upon Kandras. A part of me believed before, and it's almost, you know, validated now, he might be having some second thoughts or doubts. You know, before he was the traitor simply by feeding Orochi information, but now the game has changed and now he's actually got to harm directly, you know, his friends or the people that considered him to be friends for, you know, decades. Can he really do it? Did his own reveal shake him? The fact of the matter is this, guys. Kandras has proved that he is very capable of sending Orochi intelligence. And at this point, it's unclear that he did so this time. There might be something here. My personal theory, guys, and you know, this is obviously like way down the rabbit hole, but this is where my mind immediately goes, is that Kandras was happier as an actor playing a role. Essentially, Kandras found comfort being somebody other than himself, and whatever he did under this different persona, he could deflect. Essentially, it's not his fault, or he's just, you know, it's different when you do it, as opposed to when you imagine yourself as another person doing it. If that makes sense to anybody. I know that sounds complicated, but I'm sure that like there's something here that's realistic. But as of the recent chapters, this safety net, you know, this comfort, Orochi took that away, that identity. And now he has to be himself, or at least the himself that he believed himself to be. If you want to make this even more complicated, I would argue that Kandras may not even know who he himself is. Because of his past and the trauma, he lost all sense of identity of who he is. And by taking on the subordinate role to Orochi, it's almost as if it's giving Kandras an identity, but he, you know, part of me wonders if he fights against that. Being yourself hurts. Because the real Kandras is scarred. He can't hide from the truth anymore. So maybe his character is reaching a point of crisis. Kandras has betrayed and threatened to harm people who have shown him nothing but love. So if Kandras is now removed from his role, and he's no longer acting as anybody else, and he's supposed to be Kandras now, perhaps there's a little bit of Kandras who believes that Kandras cares about these people, the real Kandras. But yeah, this is probably the things that lead to people watching my videos while high. Maybe almost as an overreaction to all of this, that is why he's threatening to kill Hiyori as well as Momonosuke. On one hand, delaying having to deal with Momonosuke, it's like, well, first I'm going to get Hiyori, then I'm going to kill you. But on the other hand, also validating, you know, who he is or who he believes himself to be by preparing to do something even more evil. It's like, aha, I'm this person that I believe myself to be because I'm going to do something even worse. Like, essentially what I'm speculating here is that Kandro might be tempted to, or sort of half in, half out, going into another different role. Again, being someone who is not quite actually Kandro. All the while, with those doubts, conveniently forgetting to give Orochi vital information that might help the Alliance. I don't know, guys. These are just my thoughts for now, and I find it really interesting. Another cool possibility that I would say is really completely different from this is Kandro actually did inform Orochi, and all of this this speculation here is kind of pointless, but his message that he sent to Orochi was intercepted and in some way destroyed. Who would have done this? I mean, there's not too many suspects, but I think that we do have some suspects. For one, Big Mom may want a shot at the Strads before Kaido. She is known for her ability to gather intel or intelligence. Maybe she discovered Orochi's traitor. Zeus is sort of watching all of this unfold and informed her of the situation, and she intercepted his message. Another good guess would be Denjiro. I'm still in love with the idea that Denjiro is sort of weaving mental circles around just about everybody, and has known for a time that Kandro is the traitor, or prepared for that possibility, and placed guys within Orochi's circle to be able to do something like this. At the same time, not making that fact known, because for whatever reason, he's interested in making sure that Kinemon remains the leader. X-Drake is another good guess here. Just as a likely ally hiding amongst the enemy, he's capable of doing a lot that we can't really, predict. And we also have this new character, Kaido's son. There's nothing really to substantiate this, but I just think that he could be a huge wild card. A consistent thing about Kaido's crew is that they're all insane and battle thirsty and put themselves in dangerous situations. For Kaido or a member of his crew, it could be more exciting if the allied forces aren't prepared for and they aren't immediately defeated, and you have a chance for some sort of great battle. But yeah, just know that the lack of any resistance immediately is a huge red flag of something interesting going on in the story. Orochi, I think, is too afraid of the Scabbards to toy around with them, and I don't think that he's so smart to have gone Galaxy Brain on them and not just put thousands of troops at the entrance. So I'm really curious to see what comes of this, and I'm curious as to what you guys are thinking. But moving on to something else, sort of related to what we were just talking about Big Mom, is anyone else suspicious that we haven't seen Big Mom yet at the event? She keeps getting mentioned, and she was silhouetted in the last chapter, but for the most part, she has been off-screened. And, guys, I may end up making a theory about this later because I think that it's a really good theory. It also may not be enough for an actual video. It's like a 1-minute theory, really. So this might end up spoiling anybody if I make that video. But I think that it's distinctly possible that Brûlé is pretending to be Big Mom using her mirroring abilities, and Big Mom might actually be somewhere else. And the way that she made a big show of needing to go change into a kimono, it could have been then that a switch could have occurred. And so the point of Oda not showing her is that if Brûlé had mirrored her, then it would be obvious to us because Big Mom would be mirrored. So you'd be able to tell that something was off. So you'd be able to tell that that's not Big Mom, it's Brûlé. But yeah, right after Big Mom is announced by Queen in this chapter, we see this text bubble saying, "Huh? What do you guys think about that? Does this imply that something strange is going on with the Big Mom pirates that we are about to discover?" But anyway, guys, the other big reveal of this chapter, the Flying Six. I am so hyped over this, and at the same time, so conflicted as to what I believe. How important are they? What will they do? With all the confidence in the world, I say, I have no idea. Other than potentially preliminary fights before we get to the big dogs. But their designs are absolute fire, and my interest was immediately piqued. More so than any other group in Wano, a new group that we have met, and that includes the numbers. Also, guys, is it low-key confirmed that the Flying Six outrank the numbers? One of them commented that if Queen were to be killed, who would replace them? I assume what he means here is that if Queen were to die, somebody would take the rank of Jack, and then Jack moves up to become Queen. He then speculates that the person would be X-Drake, which is fitting because X is the Roman numeral for 10, and 10 leads to Jack. But X-Drake is not a number, at least not as far as we know. It's like the numbers are distinctly separated from the Flying Six. So yeah, this is all getting confusing, but what I'm getting from all of this is that X-Drake may be the 4th or 5th strongest member of Kaido's crew and next in line to become a face card, Jack, which will simultaneously change my expectations for the numbers and the Flying Six. Previously I assumed the numbers were higher than the Flying Six, but I'm not so sure. And what exactly makes someone a member of the Flying Six rather than the numbers and vice versa? I'm like really curious to know. And just while we're here, I think that it's a general foreshadowing that a member or members of the Flying Six might have a plot against the Calamities in order to somehow take their spot, because they believe that to be possible, or be, in some way root for their defeat, which could be an avenue for them to have an interesting or different role in the story than we would expect. But yeah, as a side note, I guess, I'm just so blown away by Oda's ability to design. It hits me every now and again, but it hit me twice in this chapter. Just as soon as you feel like, Oda, man, there's some limit to the amount of creativity one person can have. He's like, nope, here's some more god tier stuff. Onigashima looks like it could be an actual fan park in the real world. The level of detail, honestly, I could look at it, for a long time. I have already, but like every time I do, I notice something else, something different. And that's just like part of the magic of One Piece. Totally different from anything else in the One Piece story, but still fresh and awesome. You have that wow surrealness of One Piece. And you might also have hints of deeper lore and story about how it came to be this way. Like, for instance, the giant katana and the skull of what appears to be a continent puller, the same race as Oars and Oars Jr. If you guys remember the old theory, might as well bring it up again because I believe it and nothing has changed. The theory is that Wano is composed of 5 or 6 individual islands literally moved across the sea by the continent puller race, Oars' race. Or in other words, this guy that we see here, the dead guy whose skull and katana we see, he created Wano by moving islands right next to each other. And maybe died by being turned into stone or being turned into an island. Or maybe his dead body just became an island. But yeah, that's sort of the going theory. It might end up being true, it might not. But, even if something similar is true, it's just next level world building. And also the way that they had the ship sink in this chapter, so as to not give the enemy a greater chance to be alerted, man, there's just something awesome about that moment that I find it difficult to describe with words. There's just, it gave me a certain feeling. It feels real and intense. Like the kind of stuff that would one day, if it actually happened in the real world, it'd become a legend. And also kind of as a parallel to Marineford, a parallel but opposite, is Whitebeard's entrance to Marineford was his ships appeared from the sea. Well, in this case, it's flipped exact opposite. The Alliance arrives to Onigashima, on the surface, and then their ships sink to the bottom. I wonder if that was purposeful. But yeah, I know at this point I'm fanboying, but that's really how I feel about this chapter. It just blew me away. But of course, we want to talk about the designs of the Flying Six now that they're revealed. And so we're just going to shotgun these. There's no way to do this for me in a way that flows well, so we're just going to talk about each one. I'll admit, fodder or not, Page 1's design has a strong chance of being one of my favorites in the story. It's dapper. The way he sits, though, and the way that he looks uncomfortable, I just got the impression that he looks uncomfortable. Let me know what you guys think. He comes across as kind of awkward. He didn't cover his face in his transformed look, and yet here we have him covering his face. It makes me wonder if he's maybe insecure about his regular appearance, or maybe I'm just reading too much into this. If any character has that, Kakashi mouth cover, I already know that I'm going to like the design. So Orochi checks all the boxes for me. She's got a weird speaking mannerism, which makes me think of a snake. But I feel like if I understood how to read Japanese, that maybe I would have a different impression. But I do wonder if maybe she has a snake-related devil fruit. That seems like something that would fit. My main assumption here is that all of these people have zone devil fruits. And what those zones are is, it could be essentially anything. I've also seen theories that she might be a moth or butterfly based on her design. And I can see that as well. Who's Who is 1, an awesome name. And 2, got an awesome design. I'm kind of reminded of a beetle or a bug from the helmet. So that'd be my guess for his devil fruit, I guess, until proven otherwise. Like a stag beetle or a Hercules beetle. It just seems like it fits with his design. And as a side note here, we have never seen, I don't think, a canon bug zone in the story. And yes, I know about Onigumo, and no, his fruit is not yet confirmed to be a spider zone, so it's not confirmed yet, so it's not canon yet. So it'd be awesome for Oda to introduce insect zones with the Flying Six. And actually, I've just taken the time to research it, and we have seen a bug zone already, one of the Tantata, so that was really low-key. I think that there was a bee and a beetle. But yeah, actually sitting down and looking at the beetle Tantata, he does look similar to Who's Who, so I'm really feeling the beetle-related zone. Which leads us right into Black Maria, who's also fire and reminds me of a spider, like a Black Widow. And hell, her design even has that thirsty widow vibes, if you understand me. But yeah, really not too much to say here. This one seems fairly obvious, and I'm ready for a fruit like this. And the last guy, Sasaki, is probably the least hype of the 6 that have been introduced so far. And I don't really have too many thoughts. He kind of looks like a fishman to me, or part fishman. And if I were to guess about his devil fruit, I would say that a Triceratops seems fitting based on his design. So including X-Drake, what I'm essentially speculating here is we have 3 bug-related fruits and 3 dinosaurs. So with Oda's OCD with the number 3 and symmetry, I mean, this works and it's satisfied. And if Oda wants to get real tricky with us, you know, inject those mythical insects right into my veins. I've actually got more specific theories about this relating to Japanese lore that I hoped to make a video on soon, so we won't do it right now. But yeah, I'd say that that's what I have to say about this chapter. 10 out of 10 would recommend. But yeah, I really enjoyed this chapter, as you could probably tell. As always, if you notice something from the chapter that I might have missed, share your thoughts in the comment section below. Like the video if you liked the video, dislike the video if you disliked the video. Subscribe if you want to be notified for my future content. And as always, guys, have a wonderful day.